And we're back to another episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy. I was gonna say Final Fantasy V, but there hasn't been a fifth one yet in order of this game. But yeah, we're back, and we've achieved level 5 with our characters. This Dildo is now a little bit more survivable. He got a good XP level up, whereas Fucker didn't, because he's a little fucker. Our survivability has gone up at least maybe half as good as it was before. In a perfect world, I probably would want to be level 6 or 7, but we're good. We should be good. Should be good. And hopefully we get some pretty relatively easy fights for right now. How long that'll last is kind of up in the air, as I hadn't run into any ogres since the time we fought the 2 ogres. So, strange enough. And we're going to be running into enemies like cobras and I want to say tarantulas, which I've only run into once. And they're pretty nasty in the sense that they can poison your party. So, yeah. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, this is ridiculous. Come on. So far we're kind of lucking out here. Found the worms. The Gigas worms is what they're called. They're okay. They give a little bit of XP and a little bit of gold, so they're kind of interesting, but not ultimately. So now we've reached a... Ow! We're going to force this to happen. The crystal eye, the crystal eye. Thump. Ow! Who put that there? Curses, I can't see a thing without the crystal eye. We're still a little away from me. What's the thing without the crystal eye? So we've got some info. I believe, yeah, there. Really, what we came up here for is this. But talking to Matoya kind of lightly tells you or activates that she needs an item. And when you talk to the brooms, simple enough, flip her over, flip. This is something I think they added. And then it says something that seems like it's in a foreign language, but it is, alas, not. It is actually backwards. Start and circle. So if we press start and circle, I don't think anything's going to happen because we're indoors. Oh yeah, it will. And it shows us a world map. A world map? No, a world map. And that's how we know that this is Matoya's cave. And this is something that's discoverable in the base game, in the NES game, in the Nintendo version. But now we know where we are in the world. And it's useful. It is useful. To sit here and say that that's not a useful piece of information is kind of lying to yourself. Knowing where you are in the world is always important. So we need to make our way south here. And I know I'm showing a lot of the battles, but I figure it's not a big deal as we can handle most enemy groups here with somewhat ease. There's still, though, the giants, or ogres rather. Giants. There are actual giants in this game. The ogres and some of the poison conducting, the enemies that use poison attacks are probably the real biggest threat out here. And I believe you could skip Matoya's cave altogether if you wanted. You eventually have to go back there, obviously, if, you know, to help her later. But to get 2 potions, and I believe we got an antidote. To get those things early on is pretty good, because that's like almost 200 $200 you're saving. go. And it takes a lot to level now, too. I don't know if I explained that as well. We're up in the... we started with 1,000 something. Now we're at like 800 and something. And so leveling is going to become kind of slow. It's going to slow down until we make our way east of Matoya's cave. Or rather, east of the bridge. The bridge crossing, because that's where we got to go. We could even look at the map and ensure that we go the right way, because I think there's a possible dead end. If you're... Yeah, I think there is one. I think it's down there. Alright, whatever. So we're heading back to town because we can heal up, amongst other things. These things won't die. Oh, really? Because like everybody except one character missed, and that's going to be something that's just something you get used to. As you progress through the game, your odds of hitting enemies grows, specifically with your physical attackers. Your magic attackers, they're still real hit and miss, no pun intended. Kind of, they become problematic. You're just not hitting enemies very often or easily. So we'll hit up the inn. 1894. And we also need to be aware that our sleeping bags eventually will become obsolete. They're already pretty much obsolete because it would take more than one to actually, you know, do anything constructive. So that's something to keep in mind. We probably, once we can start buying tents easily, we'll dump the sleeping bags. Because they make good little save points in the open world and stuff like that, so. And away we go. But like I said, all of this XP does add up in the long run. Some people would say, why don't you just run away? Hey, this adds up, man. You do 10 fights of this, that's 30 XP, 50 XP. That's pretty good XP at this level. 7, so you fight, 10 of these, that's 70 XP. So you want battles that at least give you 30 XP or higher at this point of the game. Freaking sweet. And we also want to get as much gold as we can, or gil, in the remakes. Because, gold was just too easy. I don't know. Never understood why it got changed to gil, or if it was gil to begin with. And then we'll cut these dudes down to size. Let's keep moving. Maybe if we can head through this way. Across the marshlands. Uh-oh, crazy horses. They be crazy, yo. Because if they get their 2-hitter, they can do some pretty good damage to 3 of our 4 characters. As such. They give good money. The XP's okay, if I'm not mistaken. Because they do a lot of damage, and that can be problematic. So you're getting... So the idea is I'm trying to give you the idea of the enemy types around here, even though I may have mentioned it before. 45 gil, 47 XP. It's fine. Not the greatest, but it'll do. Horse, it'll do. Keep that HP above 70, or keep it above 60. Really, if you get into a fight with an ogre, you won't regret it. then we gotta keep heading. Yeah, you can see that red dot way out there, I believe is where we're headed. Unless it's... No, I believe that's where we're headed. Yeah, that's where we're headed. So, yeah, we've got a bit of travel to do here. So we just gotta be careful as we walk through these forests. You know. We're gonna run into wart wolves. There's also werewolves, I believe, as well out there. And they're pretty nasty, too. But as long as they attack Murder, I'm happy. They can attack him all they want. Come on! Oh, you useless bastards. Oh, you mother of Burl. Come on, guys, kill something. Kill things more consistently, please. That's the thing that kills you the most, is accuracy in this game, which I'll explain when we get to the next town, because there are some interesting weapon choices for our fighter. You need to be made aware of the pros and the cons of those choices at this stage of the game. Later in the game, it's not going to matter as much, so you may want to go for something that's straight up better, statistically would seem better in the stats that you care about the most, which is kind of pretty much usually damage for most people. But we'll get into that discussion when we get there. We still got some ways to go. And Gigas Worms are a good way to level up. They give you 15 XP and 15 gold, but I'm trying not to use gil because I'd rather use gold. Gold is so much cooler, man. But, just aside. And lizards you gotta be weary of. We'll actually use some magic against them just to stay safe. Even though we don't have ice, which would be better to hit them with, I believe. I'm only gonna use one spell. Ooh! The last healing spell. You know what? Let's use another one anyway. Chances are he wasn't going to get killed by our two fighters, so... They hit hard. There we go. Get good XP, though. 38 at this stage. There's the town. Oh, we're going to make it, baby. Hopefully. Kinda, sorta. We're not going to make it. No, we'll make it. We should be fine. Look who! We should be fine. We might want to bust a spell out, actually. Guarantee a hit. At this point, if we can get through this fight, we can probably get to the town. And if we want everybody to survive that trip to the town, it might be worth getting these enemies defeated. I might even use a sleeping bag, dare I say, just to guarantee us getting there. Which is actually not a bad idea. But then again, we have memo. We can make a memo. Isn't that kind of like cheating? It's subjective. Come on, kill him. I think we'll make it just fine without doing it and having to do anything. It's right there. In we go. Oh, that's cutting it close. Alright, so we arrive in Provoca. Sorry, I want to make sure I say it right because the translation sometimes change the way it's spelled. Let's obviously spend 50 gil to get some sleep. And we're hoping we have enough money to buy the things we want to buy. Now, here's a neat perk. The white magic here in this town is pretty shitty. Not to say that you shouldn't buy it, but you don't need it right away. You can get by without the white magic in this town if you're really strapped for cash, because we're gonna be making tons and tons of cash rather soon. So the investments really go into gear and the black magic. And the bleak magic. But we're gonna invest in our fighter first, because he really does kill things with extreme prejudice. So we have a choice here between the scimitar, the broadsword, and the battle axe. Now, the broadsword is the better weapon in one regard. Its attack is 15 versus an attack of 16, right? But the broadsword is more accurate. And as you've noticed, possibly, accuracy is kind of a big deal. We'll also buy our thief a scimitar. But I do want to check something before we buy him that scimitar! Yeah, screw it. We'll buy him the scimitar anyway. He needs all the help he can get right now. So let's see what the difference is in attack. Anything's better, because he's kind of on par with Dildo right now. Right? Yeah, him and Dildo have the same attack. So it gives him one more attack point, but look at the accuracy go really, really high compared to Dildo. Whereas, and that's why we went with knives with Fucker, because the staff is not as accurate. Alright, so that's good. You notice I didn't sell anything yet. Not going to sell their old gear unless I need the cash right away, because we're going to need that cash in a little bit. So armor's next. Armor is always the next big buy. So, oh boy. Luckily we can buy gloves for everybody. Everybody gets a glove. Make sure we level up the group more so than just one person. We'll grab one shield. And the last of our money is going to go pretty much to the steel plate. And we're going to be now again hurting for cash. This is where we're going to probably sell gear, because we don't have enough for any magic, and I do want to see how much magic we can buy. So our evasion goes down, but our defense skyrockets up. So you can see that's what I'm getting at is the... Now you could possibly hold off on buying the steel gear, but I want to buy it anyway because I want to fucking buy it. Whoops. Let's make sure everybody gets everything they need. There we go. Yeah, every little bit helps. I know that's like, oh, I only got the defense too. Every little bit helps. Okay, they should all be geared up though rather well, so we can sell these two guys for 10 gil. And this guy for 40 bucks. So, yay. Goodbye. Goodbye, money. So yeah, we're pretty much broke again. Yay. Just what I've always wanted. And there is an inn here, or an item shop. Are tents on the menu? Tents are on the menu. At $2.50 a pop, which is pretty pricey. Because I'd rather spend it on, you know, Blick Magic. And here it is. And really... Let's take a look here. We have stuff that's... really, we have our first debatably good spell. And what we have is... well, let's talk about the... Okay, we don't have enough for any of these. They're 400 bucks each. Dang it. We need to pick up Ice 1, Steel... and probably Slow 1. A Fog is interesting, but it's not consistently good. In other words, it works almost never. Slow 1's pretty good. Steel is the best spell here. Ice is good for obvious reasons, but Steel is pretty good. And that is a skill we're going to be getting when we have the money for it. We don't have the money for it now, so I'm not going to fret over it. There is a little thing we can do. Let's just, you know what, we're going to use the memo system just so I don't have to waste money and your time. Let's go here. Say, I don't think you know who you're talking to. Fellers, teach these guys how to respect the great pirate's beacon. Aye, aye, boss. We'll take care of them. So it's kind of random. You would know to do this if you talk to the townsfolk a little bit, but you wouldn't get that much info. But now we could try to put them to sleep, but it's kind of a waste because you're better off just trying to kill them outright. So these pirates are not too hard. I've beaten them as low as level 2. Ask me how I got here. Ask me how I got here. Because they don't have a lot of health. They only have 6 health. So really, even at level 2, all you need to do is hit them. Hence why I'm using the black magic, because all you gotta do is, well, hit them. And so as long as you can hit them, you can kill them. So, boom. And this is a mandatory fight. You have to do this. Alright, toast. Because obviously we're going to use the inn again if we need to. And now you can also see Murder getting 2 hits in there instead of 1. It's one of the mechanics in the older Final Fantasy games where agility and all these other stats, as they build up, you get to swing your weapon more than once. 90 XP, 360 bucks. Sweet. Oh, I'm so sorry, sirs. Won't do. No bad from now on. I swear. Here, take me ship. And we get our actual first piece of transportation this early in the game. We get the ship. I know, it's weird, isn't it? But yeah, that's why I just put the memo there. It's not a hard fight, but just to be on the safe side, it doesn't hurt. We've got enough to buy at least 1 spell. I'll buy ice for now, because steel is, like I said, the better of all the spells here. It'll get more use than ice, probably, by endgame, but we still need ice for generic stuff, so we'll grab ice. And yeah, it just makes me sad we can't afford the rest. I'm making a sad panda face. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And if you're wondering what we have in white magic, we have Lamp, Silence, Nullify, Bolt, and Invis 1. Yeah, they're pretty shitty. It's hard to say what's good here. Null Bolt and Silence are probably your better bets. If you need to figure out a 3rd spell, it's hard to say. Curing Darkness is pretty good, but eventually at a certain point in the game, you're going to have eye drops. I believe. So if you want, and then why would you want to invest into this? The other issue too is that, like, Invis 1 raises your evasion by 40 points. We already have magic that increases evasion by 40 points. So now you have 2 spells that do that. We have Blink that does 80 points, and now we have Invis 1 that does 40. So effectively that's a nice little combo, 1-2 punch kind of combo. But it's literally, and I do mean literally in every sense of the word, it's literally going to be up to you to decide what you really think is kind of the best overall deal here. So yeah, I don't really have a better option than that, because those 2 spells are both I don't know what we'll go with. We might go with Darkness, just because if I don't have, or, well, Invis is pretty good too. So this is a problem I run into. So we're going to heal so we can get our MP back, and we're going to save, and then we can go out on our boat. So I'll make a save. And sweet. So now we need to head to the next town. But this time we do it by boat! Yar. Yar! And if we look at our map here, it is to the southwest, and you'll see a little red dot kind of at the near the thinnest part of the southern part of this inner waterway here. This sea bay, this bay, if you will. And that's where we're headed next. And it's a country known as Elfheim. Now the other thing is you can't just land your boat anywhere as much as you might want to. You can only land it at docks. And the area that we're actually going to is very, very interesting. And it's interesting in the sense that as we head over there... Ooh, they didn't get a kill. I thought they would have. As we head, in a sense, over there, it's going to be one of the big grinding sections of the game. I mentioned earlier, money and XP is going to be nominal. It's not going to be a big deal. I'm also going to explain a region, a place that leveling is done, and most hardcore Final Fantasy 1 fans, most hardcore RPG gamers are very familiar. You can see we got a ton of gold from that. These sea fights give us pretty good gold. Privateers especially. Anyway, what was I getting at? Oh, and there's a leveling trick, and the more time you're willing to invest in that leveling trick, the happier you will be. Some would argue it makes the game easier. That's not necessarily true, because you can always stop whenever you want. The other thing, too, is eventually it caps out and then it stops really helping you. Because the enemies that you are fighting in other locations are just as dangerous. So it's subjective issues, really. And you usually know, I usually don't level high enough for that to be an issue. Because then you're talking about, like, a huge session. But it's probably the largest grinding session in the game that we're going to run into is coming up. Because after that, grinding is kind of just as you need it. But there's two grind sessions kind of combined into one. And I'll explain it when we get there. Like I said, we still have some distance to cover here. Let's take out these wolves if we can. Maybe Stabby will get a little better here at the killing. Come on. Oh man, Stabby, you're killing me, Smalls. Yeah, these toes. Now it doesn't matter at this point how we pick them off. Alright. Ah. We were so close. So close. Okay. Get there. There we go. So now we're in a town that usually you'll become hyper familiar with, Elfheim. We'll do the inn last, because we should have enough money to be fine for now. Elfheim is unique in the sense that this early in the game, there's 2 magic shops. What? Yeah, it has 2 magic shops. And in these magic shops, there be good magic. Fire 2, Bolt 2, and whatnot, are really neat. In the sense that they hit AoE. If I'm not mistaken. And the weapon store is pretty good too. The armory is also an option here. You find good stuff in here. There's things like, as you can see, the copper armlet. Better shield. Headpieces. For all. The negative is we can't afford jack diddly crap of any of this. Really, outside the armor and maybe the weaponry. I just want to show you what's here. Here's the other white magic shop. You've got Asuna, which in this game does not cure everything. It just cures poison. Fear. No lice. Vox is not really that important. Not really. Just a heads up. I'm not a big fan of Vox. You don't usually get silenced often enough that it's a big deal. So, just saying. It's not usually a big deal. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. May Link rest in peace. Get it? Link from Legend of Zelda. They made her funny. So we get Cure 2, Die 2, No Fire, which is not as important as you'd think. And Heal 1, which is your only shot at AoE healing. Die 2 and Cure 2 are must-haves. Heal's a must-have. No Fire gets dumped. The only thing I would say is if you don't think you're going to need Heal, which there's a mild argument for it, but it's not a good one. But there is a mild argument that could be made saying to yourself that you don't really need the level that you don't need that spell. I tend to say you do to a degree, just as a heads up. I really push the heal in for like people I'm showing this game to. I think it's a better deal overall. Sleep 2, great. Ice 2, and Haste. All very good magic, but at 4 freaking grand, bro? You've got to be kidding me, dude. No, I'm not kidding. We're not kidding you. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna buy some armor. Because anything that increases our survivability is good. And yeah, we'll eventually get some copper armlets as well. It's not like money's gonna be an issue later. We'll buy 3 of these. And, well, I only needed 2 of these, but oh well. I already bought it. I'm not gonna worry about it. That puts us at 574 buccarinos. Let's go to the weapon shop. I don't think we can afford the next tier of gear completely, so let's just see what we got, because we do need to use the inn. Though if I have to, I'll use the sleeping bag and get some of that money back. So the mithril sword, way more than we can afford. Really the only... Now this weapon and the iron nunchaku are weapons for the monk, I believe. But the reality of it is that it's unnecessary. So the only thing really worth picking up is the dagger. So we'll just pick up the dagger. And I want to pick up the saber, but I don't want to burn through all my cash. Got a little improvement, not much. It's better than a swift kick to the nuts. So that. But now you have enough money to go buy it. No, we don't. I have to sell sleeping bags to make it work. Alright, so here's what we need to do. And this is a well-known strategy. There's no crazy secret or anything weird going on in this at all. Okay. There is a territory that we have had access to since we built the bridge called the Peninsula of Power. Okay, it's a nickname given to players for a long time. I believe it even came out of one of the guides that were made for this game. I think it was even the first one. Now, the Peninsula of Power is this 4-square little area, and it's east of Provoca, where we got our boat. And I'll try to point it out on the map as best as I can, because I obviously can't point it out. But remember where Provoca is, okay? If we go and look at Provoca, you'll see to the right a very thin peninsula going north. Not the little tiny one directly north of Provoca, but it's to the east and north. When you get to the top of that area, there are enemies there that you do not see till much later in the game. The halfway point, arguably the halfway point of the game. Now, with that said, they can be killed. And so one of them come in groups of like 6, and they can easily be one-shotted with Fire 2, maybe 2-shotted if needed, with Fire 2. And they attack with Ice Magic, which if we have Nullify Ice, which I think we even have already. No, we don't. But it's available at one of the stores already. We can not just power level, we can get a shit ton of cold hard cash. So what is it that we really need? Well, we need Fire 2, and we need Nullify Ice, which I believe, if it's not in this town, I believe it was in the last town. Or was that Null? That might have been Null Fire. No, Null Fire was here. Who's got Null Ice? I forget who has it. Here it is, right here. So 4, 5, 6? 6,000 gil. So, let me see here. So how much gil do we really need? 5,500 gil to get Fire 2. And I'll probably get Focus, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Fire 2. Those are the early things you're gonna need. Now, here's the deal. You're like, wait a minute, you need like 5,000 gil, but you can't go to the Tower of Power. You're gonna be grinding forever. Well, lucky for us, the area outside of Elfheim, especially the forests and whatnot, apparently ogres like to butt uglies here because we can find them in mass pretty easily, and ogres give good XP and they give good gil. You may also run into ogre. I believe in the original they were called the ogre mages, or green ogres rather. I'm sorry. You can run into green ogres. They're just upgraded versions of regular ogres, and with that upgrade is also an upgrade to what they give you for gold and XP. So it's just a matter of dealing, in a sense, dealing with them. And you'll see here after this ogre fight, and sometimes you'll fight these ogres in groups of 4, which is very dangerous, but it's worth it. We need the money. And the first thing we would buy is Fire 2 because we could use it in battles against ogres and creatures alike. And as you can see, we even run into these fights here with Gigas Worms, and so the sky's kind of the limit in a way. Because our goal is just to make a shit ton of cold hard cash and even get a few levels going before we even head to the Peninsula of Power. So this is one of those episodes where it's like, what are you gonna do the whole episode? Well, I'm not gonna waste your guys' time with grinding. I said I wouldn't. So I'm gonna get us enough equipment and gear and everything we need that I feel we need. We'll also want to make sure we have a couple of tents. The tents would be great because, for obvious reasons, well, if you're heading to the peninsula, you'll want to heal up and save because you might run into some problems. But yeah, what I'll do is the following. I will get all the goodies we need, all the gear, all the XP we need that I feel when we're ready to go, we're go. We'll head over to the Peninsula of Power. I'll do a test run of the Peninsula of Power, make sure we're strong enough, and at the earliest possible point, and then I'll start, and I'll show you some footage of the enemy types that you fight in the Peninsula of Power, and a bit of the grinding, and that'll pretty much end the episode for us. So, I will see you guys at the Peninsula of Power. Hey everybody, well, I don't need to say the intro because we're still doing the last episode. So, sorry, it's been a while. I've been at this a little bit, and we are at what's known infamously as the Peninsula of Power. Walking around this area below the peninsula, you'll fight enemies that are generally found east of Provoca. Just to give you an example of where we are in the world, let me show you where Provoca is right there. We walked east and north to this weird-looking wiener-like peninsula that's erectly pointing north. Could I make it any more graphic? Yes, I could. So we'll stop right there. So the idea is like, oh my god, he's level 13. He's got 39,000 gil. Yeah, but I spent about 3 hours here. 2.5 to 3 hours here. Easily. And theoretically, if you're very adamant about leveling, you can continue to level here. So before we came to the Peninsula of Power, we were at level 5. In 3 hours, I've gained 8 levels. And I've made almost 40 grand in gil. And that's also to mention, I've purchased most of the magic I need. I'm 2 spells short. I have, and then I have all the available gear that I can afford. I have everything I could ever want. Ever! So, is it worth it? Yes, because this is less grinding you gotta do later. And I would argue that the next 2 dungeons, or, well, the next dungeon, and then there's the first elemental dungeon we'll talk about when we get there, are probably the hardest dungeons in the game. Early part of the game. And, then maybe the last stuff at the very end of the game is very hard. But these dungeons coming up are rough. And we could not be in better shape to deal with it. And they're still going to be hard. That's the irony of the whole thing. They're still going to be hard dungeons to beat. And so what the strategy is, we get to the Peninsula of Power. We use a tent to get our HP mostly full. And you have to make sure that you have Fire 2. Minimum Fire 2. And there are 5 enemy types up here. But there's really 3 that you see the most. Once in a while you'll see a couple of wyverns, and they're not that interesting. You'll also see a T-Rex up here. Again, they're very rare and they don't offer you that much. Allosaurus, I'm sorry. So you can see we'll fight him. He's not going to give us too much, so we'll try to save our bigger spells for another fight here. Now, also the Allosaurus hits physically harder than everything else in the Peninsula of Power, but I've never seen more than one of them. Though I have heard of people running into them in pairs, but in, for example, 3 hours of grinding, this is the second one I've ever even had to fight. It seems pretty slow, but you can see he's doing a number on our knight. So imagine our fighter. So imagine what he would do to our other characters here. So you can see I'm trying to conserve our higher tier magic here. Ooh. Don't worry, we'll be okay. You make sure you bring many tents with you as well. 4 tents is not a bad number, just to be on the safe side. He should be almost dead. Maybe one more hit. This wasn't the enemy I was these weren't the enemies. This was not the enemy I was hoping to show you. Hoping to show you the more relevant ones, but he's down. But we get 846 XP. The gil was kind of disappointing because that's not really why you come here. The average battle nets you around 600 to 800 XP on average. Some of them as high as 1,000, but those are more rare. And yeah, it's going to burn through more of your resources, and that resource being your magic. So let's see, we already burnt through all of our tier 2s just to heal that fight. Which means, yeah, we don't have a lot of healing magic, but we have potions and we have tents. Let's see if we can pick a fight. Make sure that if your frontline fighter and your... Well, everybody's frontline in this game, but your fighter and your thief are at least up to 250-ish or as high as they can go. So these are the battles, the Necrotor. So I said the Wyverns, the Allosaurus, Necrotors, Trolls, and Snow Wolves. Snow Wolves are the easiest thing here to level off of, by far. Necrotors and Trolls are probably the second hardest thing to level off of here. And we're gonna blast them with fire too. But the thing is they give out pretty good money. And we won fights with these guys at level 5, but let me just say this, that was the only thing we fought, probably. We fought 1 or 2 battles and then ran back to town. Fought a few more battles, run back to town. And as we got stronger, our ability to pretty much stay out in this area increases as we become more powerful. I'm not even afraid to use another fire tooth here. As long as your black mage can constantly cast offensive fire and ice level 2, you can kind of hang out here. Ice 2 by itself is kind of useless though. If you get into a snow wolf fight, it won't do that much damage, and that would leave you vulnerable to them. So there's 1,000 XP and 4,200 gil. That's enough for one black mag. That's enough for one level 4 spell right there in a nutshell. So the Peninsula of Power is it's a magical place, and I love coming here for these various reasons. Now what we'll do is we'll pop a 10 here. We're almost out of magic anyway. I know we've only been here for so little, and we can make a save while we're here, which is always recommended, because you never know when something's going to come out and just murder your face. And it takes us about 6,000 to level now, but you know, now we're down to 3919. So this is a really, really, really easy place to level. I would never, I would stop leveling at 13. You can go as high as 15 just for the shits and giggles if you want. Oh, look at that, it's another fight. And the Necrotors and the Trolls are really the ones I would, in all honesty, I prefer leveling off the Snow Wolves because they're so much easier to kill. We'll use ice, even though I think that's against my better judgment. Let's see what we get for damage here. Yeah, that wasn't a good idea. That didn't do a lot of damage. Look out! Well, we got potions. Wouldn't hurt to use it on Stabby. Because we have no more magic. Stabby, you must live! And if a character dies or something during this process, you just reload from your last save. Like we made a save, so potions you can rebuy. Lost XP, you can't. So I just figured that's the easiest way to do it. Come on, hang in there, buddy. Yeah, go after Murder. He likes when people beat him up. Yeah, beat him Murder. He can take it. He can take shots to the mouth like nobody. Just to stay safe, we're going to bust an ice too. It won't do a lot of damage, but it'll do more damage than like casting a level 1 ice spell on one target. And we may not even need it. Okay, we didn't really need to do it. There we go. Give him a little something here. And I'm going to explain the tiling in a minute here, because that is relevant. Here we go. So we won. Yay. And to make it back safely, we're going to use at least 110, if not 2. But there's only 4 tiles that these enemies appear on in the peninsula. It's the tiles. We're at the highest part of the tile that you can go, right? So with that said, since we're at the high, 107 should be enough. The only thing that's dangerous are maybe the other dudes, but we saved. So the Tower of Power is the tile to the left of our character, the tile the character's on, the tile to the south of the character, and a tile that is west to the south. So it's just these 4 diagonal to the character, next to the character, up, left, down, and diagonally left, southwise. Those 4 tiles is where those monsters appear. And these monsters were intended to show up later in the game and to be just regular monster fights. Luckily for us, some designer in their infinite wisdom put those dudes there. And I'm not complaining, I just think it's kind of funny. And so now, as I'm going to show you the last part of this, we're going to make our way back to Provoca so you can kind of see how to get here. So we're doing it backwards. Instead of me walking out there and doing it, we're going to walk back to town. And you'll get to see how that plays out. And then, we buy a little bit of XP and other stuff out of this. But yeah, you could spend 5 hours in the Peninsula of Power, and in theory, it would not do you wrong. Do you need to spend 5 hours in the Peninsula of Power? No. I would say once you start getting to level 15 and higher, the amount of XP needed becomes a bit more daunting, because you're still taking remember, your natural defenses and stuff are going up, but these enemies still hit on such a harder side that it's not necessarily worth the trouble. So it's a great little leveling spot. I wouldn't go higher than 15. We probably will get to 14 and be done. I'll check out how much XP it takes to get to 15, but I'm not that eager to do more than that. Like I said, we're only going to burn 8,000 more gil back in Elfheim, because that's all it's going to cost us to buy the last 2 white mage spells we need. And we'll be good. Freak accidents do happen on the Peninsula of Power, so always take many tents with you. 4 is probably the bare minimum, because you want to make sure that you can burn your white mage's magic casts. You want to make sure you have the freedom to burn as much of that magic as possible, and the tents are going to be your best bet for healing per dollar, because it heals everybody as opposed to only healing a few characters. So I might level to 15, but I'm probably only going to take them to 14, because we're almost there. At 1,000 a pop, that's 3 of those Minotaur battles, but on average you get about 800, so it's what, 8 more fights, maybe 2 more trips out there. But yeah, you don't even fight that long out there. I know, it's weird, but that is the Peninsula of Power trick. It's a very well-known trick. I even want to say it might have been in the very first no, I don't think it was in the Nintendo Power one. I'd have to pull it down and look. I have it, so I'll have to let you guys know about that, if the Peninsula of Power trick was even referenced in there. I don't think it was. I think it came out in the PlayStation 1 version. Oops, I don't know why I'm doing this twice. Whoops, wasted 50 bucks. Too bad we're making 4 grand a battle. That's actually the extreme. That 4 Minotaur Necrotor battle is probably the best situation, because you get the most XP and the most money out of that fight. At the cost of spending a lot of magic, but it's not bad. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. I am your host, the RPG Guy. Like and subscribe. We're going to grind some more levels, and then after that, we're going to be figuring out what's gone down in Elfheim and all that hubbity bub. When we come back, we will be in Elfheim. I will have the other spells bought, or I'll just show myself buying them. How about that? So you guys don't feel left out. It's just Asuna and Fear. I guess you could get the other one too. It's not a big deal which ones you end up with, really. As long as you get Null Ice, because the Null Ice helps you against the Snow Wolves. And when you fight them in packs, sometimes they get an attack off first, and they can hit you with an AoE Ice attack that's pretty nasty. So yeah, when you fight the Snow Wolves, that's the only change, is you use Fire 2 with your Black Mage, you use Null Ice 1, and it should make it survivable, because it'll only hit you for like 10 to 20 damage, instead of like the 50, 60 damage they would hit you every time they did it. Alright, thank you guys for stopping by. If you like what you see here, thumbs up, subscribe, support the channels you watch. Come check me out on Twitch at Jacktard Studios. So twitch.tv/Jacktard Studios. We've got, I believe during the time of this recording, I'm playing Octopath Traveler. So come check us out, and I hope to see you guys on the next episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy 1. We'll see you guys there.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please take a moment to check out more episodes from the RPG Guy, Tuesday Night Team Up, and more. And please subscribe. Always support the channels you enjoy watching, and while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Keep on gaming hard. See you next time.